Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. Congresswoman Cathy McMorris Rodgers has served Washington State in the United States House of Representatives since 1994, so she's heard a lot of State of the Union. I welcome her back. Good morning, Congresswoman. Great to have you.
Good morning, Hugh.
How do you rate last night's speech against the others that you've heard?
Well, I was overall greatly disappointed. It wasn't very inspiring, and it fell flat on the floor. Clearly, the president just doubled down on his socialist agenda. At the beginning, it was good that he spent time talking about Ukraine and the importance of us standing by Ukraine. But still, he's failing to say that American energy is the solution to pushing back on Putin. And we all know that Putin's economy, Russia's economy, is entirely dependent upon energy production and exports. And our greatest weapon against Putin and his aggression right now in Ukraine and the funding of his military through energy would be for us to unleash American energy, for us to flip the switch. And he is completely blocked our efforts to put energy on the table.
Now, Congresswoman McMorris Rodgers, you are the ranking Republican on Energy and Commerce. That's one of the big three committees in the House. And that means you'll be chairing it next year. If polling is any indication, it looks like a red wave building, and he didn't do anything to stop it last night. What would you do vis-a-vis American energy, and would you sanction, as I've been urging, Russian oil? I can't believe Americans are actually buying Russian oil right now, or allowed to, because we're just funding cluster bombs in Kharkiv.
Well, I completely agree. We should not be buying a single barrel of oil from Russia right now. And we currently we are purchasing 11% of our crude oil from Russia. And it's coming in through Massachusetts, who won't allow any pipelines to be built into Massachusetts to deliver domestic oil and gas. It's coming in through Washington State and California, Hawaii and Alaska. But we should not be purchasing a single barrel of oil from Putin and Russia. We have abundant natural resources, and we should be using them, and they absolutely right now should be a part of that response to Putin's aggression in Ukraine. It's the quickest way to cripple his economy and to cripple his income as he continues to use energy to fund the aggression in Ukraine. And right now, this administration is more tied to their religion of climate change than actually doing what it's going to take to push to defeat Putin in Ukraine. At the same time, President Zelensky continues to call on us to stand for freedom and sovereignty and self-determination. And this is such a defining moment for Ukraine, for the United States. And we should be leading on this. We should be leading in unleashing American energy, flipping the switch, stop the shutdown of American energy at the time that Putin's using it for his aggression.
Now, Congresswoman, there is no impediment to our sanctioning Russian oil, is there? We can just stop it today with an executive order. Am I correct about that?
Yes. If President Biden chose to do this, he could do it. And I also know that if President and he's concerned about rising gas prices in America, if he were to sanction Russian oil currently coming into the United States. My plea to him is to open up American energy. We should be permitting new plants, LNG, liquefied natural gas plants that have been waiting over a year for their permits. We should be saying yes. And many of those permits, 4 out of the 6, are actually targeting our ability to export LNG to Europe. We should be saying yes to the Keystone Pipeline. President Biden on day one blocked, after the Keystone Pipeline had been permitted, he blocked this pipeline that would allow us to bring in crude oil from Canada, and instead continues to allow for Russia to provide oil to the United States, 11% that's coming in right now to meet our domestic needs. He should be allowing us to explore energy exploration on federal lands, which he has blocked. America is blessed with abundant resources, and this is the time that we should be switching on flipping the switch and turning on American energy production here to meet our own domestic needs, keep prices lower, but also stop the aggression by Putin in Ukraine.
I'm talking with Cathy McMorris Rodgers, Congresswoman extraordinaire from Washington State's 5th Congressional District. She is the ranking Republican on Energy and Commerce, one of the big three committees of Congress, so she'll be the chairman next year. So everyone will want to talk to you next year, Cathy McMorris Rodgers.
Yeah.
I hope you'll continue to come and talk to me on the show. I want to go for a moment to, even if you're a climate absolutist, a climate alarmist, all you want is for oil to cost more. That's what you want. You want people to pay a gas tax that's higher. I know Europe depends upon Russian oil, but is there any moral dimension that they are ignoring? If we led, would they follow? I just don't understand how anyone can wring their hands or do any sanctions on Russia and still buy their oil. It's his lifeline. It's what's keeping Putin alive.
I completely agree. It's clear. 30%. The energy production and exports in Russia, it drives their economy. That's where Putin has gotten the money to fund his military and his aggression. I completely agree. You know, it's Putin. It's President Putin that through the years been funding the NGOs, the non-government organizations in Europe that are anti-fracking, that are educating the Europeans as to the dangers of fracking. So Europe doesn't do any fracking. New technology that has been developed in America that really has opened up the shale revolution and the natural gas explosion that is really it's been driving down our carbon gas emissions. But Putin wants Europe to continue to be dependent upon him, so that funds his economy. And right now, that's what is allowing him to do this aggression in Ukraine. Putin has been known to cut off the pipelines in the middle of the winter to Ukraine to try to get them to submit. Putin has used energy for years, and even if you are, what I see is that this is the difference between blood on the lives of men and women, boys and girls in Ukraine versus America opening up our energy, saying yes to more energy production here so that we can stop the aggression. And we do it cleaner. Our oil and natural gas is 40% less carbon impact than Russian oil and gas. Again, America leads. We need to unleash technology, innovation, so that America can both meet our energy needs and continue to lead the world in bringing down carbon emissions.
Now, Congresswoman, I want to play for you maybe the low point of the speech. The president was talking about inflation, and he put up a straw man saying that you're going to cut your wage. Nobody's going to cut wages. We can't get enough workers. We're rising. Wages are rising, but not as fast as inflation. Here's what the president said. Cut 27.
One way to fight inflation is to drive down wages and make Americans poorer. I think I have a better idea to fight inflation. Lower your costs, not your wages.
All right, so how does he do that? That's the dumbest thing I've heard from that podium ever. I mean, there have been some pretty dumb things that lower your costs in an inflation. How do you do that? That's not possible.
It's an example of how divorced from reality this administration has been on issue after issue. Wages have been going up all across the country. What our businesses need is relief from the command and control that this administration is imposing upon them. And he has no plan to address inflation. He takes no ownership that it has been the record government spending that is driving inflation right now, that is driving the cost of gas at the pump and how much we're paying at the grocery store. I know in Eastern Washington it is having a real impact, and it is all across this country. And this especially hits the low and middle income Americans, those that truly are living paycheck to paycheck, trying to make ends meet. And when inflation hits, when the dollar store has to raise its prices from $1 to $1.25, right? That is hitting the low income the hardest. And the president just failed to acknowledge any impact that his policy has had, and this idea that somehow businesses can cut their costs and raise wages. I mean, it's divorced from reality.
All right, last question, Congresswoman. This goes into the inner workings. After you leave the House floor and you're in the hallway, I don't know if you guys all get on the train or if you walk in the tunnels. But I saw Leader McCarthy looking at Whip Scalise, exchanging those knowing glasses like, oh my gosh, this is bad. What did you hear in the murmuring of people outside in the hallway?
Well, the line about inflation, that was one that members were reflecting on. Just the fact that this president obviously has never run a business. He doesn't understand what it takes to run a business. Just a lot of disappointment. The fact that he was doubling down on his socialist agenda, the disappointment over Ukraine and his unwillingness to unleash American energy, which would be our greatest weapon against Putin and his aggression in Ukraine. And he continues to stand by his radical climate agenda over the Ukrainian people and the possibility of further aggression, whether it's by Putin or China ultimately. I think there was just this sense of it being empty and falling short of being the speech to America that you always want to hear from the president at the State of the Union.
Yeah, I want to check in with Ken Calvert, who's in charge of your ranking member of armed services. I didn't hear anything about raising defense spending. Nothing. Even Germany has figured this out, Congresswoman. That's a bonus question. Were you amazed? Not a word about our defense spending.
Absolutely. It is on every American's mind right now. Is what is our future? When is how far is President Putin going to push it? They are basically saying, well, Kiev is going to fall. It may take longer. Instead of it being days now, it's going to take weeks. But then how much farther does Putin push it? We all know that China wants Taiwan, and the signal that this is sending, and ultimately what it means for the safety and the security of Americans is on every American's heart and mind. And the president just seems to he just doesn't understand what it takes to protect our country, to make sure that the citizens of this country are safe and secure. And the number one responsibility of the federal government is to protect the country. And he just failed on that front.
Big strike and a miss last night, swing and a miss. Cathy McMorris Rodgers, Congressman extraordinaire from Washington's 5th Congressional District. Thank you. Keep coming back. I really appreciate your taking the time this morning, getting up early. Good to talk to you.